Alright, we should be alive now.
Yo. Live. Hello.
Which I don't want to drag my camera, actually. Give me a second. OBS is being annoying. I'm just trying to do some slight adjustments of some stuff. That's a bit better. There we go. Alright. Alright, we got some people streaming into chat, so we're good whenever you're good.
Oh yeah, alright. Well, hello everybody. As you can probably see from the title of this stream, it's a short story. Long story short, you may remember back during the one episode of DBA where there were a bunch of doctors. I forget what we called it at the end.
It's 9 out of 10 doctors agree or something, I'm pretty sure.
I see. Anyways, one of the doctors in particular, Jonathan Kalaya, played by me, Amber, hi, walked up and basically offered to Cheshire and / or Melograno information in return for being a part of a small little experiment of his. And he never ended up getting the information to them before shit hit the fan. So that's a big question mark, but we're here to just resolve that whole deal today. And you know, we've got the person here of Cheshire and / or Melograno to handle that.
Yeah.
So, I believe we can just get started as, So Cheshire, you were, you know, obviously haven't seen the doctor since, but, he did give you a business card that has a particular address on it, and following that address to the building, it indicates, close to the center of the city, there is a very large tower that is constructed almost like a pyramid, if the tip of the pyramid, if were like the sides were normally flat and the tip was way high up.
It's like a rectangular prism with a pointed
kind
end,
of,
or
more or less.
Mm-hmm.
The wall is not entirely made of glass, but there is a lot of like rows of glass walls going up, and the card specifically indicated that basically there would be someone to meet you as you walked in. So
yeah, he'll just kind of adjust his coat, check his watch, just because, you know, he's not sure exactly how long this will take, and, you know, he's got a lot of things he's doing these days, so it's just like, hopefully he's allotted himself enough time for this to be within his allotted schedule, and then we'll just head on in.
Alright, as you walk in, there's a sort of, you know, general reception area, not too much information, but there's to, you know, go over. It's pretty standard, except at one end where the reception desk is, it is like essentially a half circle reception desk with a couple people behind it, and near one of the sides is a relatively short person very bright, like, teal hair, tied up in a ponytail, kind of messy, wearing a lab coat and glasses, who sort of sees you as you walk in and waves you over.
Yep, heads over.
As you head over, she, she addresses you just, hello, you must be Mr. Cheshire, correct?
Yes, I'm Cheshire Lothian.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is, Kim. I'm the doctor's assistant. She holds out a hand.
Goes for a handshake.
Yeah. Alright, so, the doctor said you'd be coming to visit sometime soon. If you'll just follow me, his lab is just on the, first basement floor.
Alright.
I guess as we're going, as you walk down a hallway towards an elevator, there any, like, particular, I don't know, questions or something you have? I might be able to answer some things.
All I've been told is that this is something regarding a specific type of fruit or something.
Yes, that has been kind of a blockage in his research recently. Recently, the doctor came across two of these sorts of fruits that supposedly are supposed to, grant you some kind of great power. We did some research. He decided to be the sort of test dummy for one of them, and nothing happened. So we're not really sure exactly what's going on with it.
I see. Interesting.
A little bit of... yeah, a little bit of time passes, you know, you get on the elevator, it goes down a floor, and then, you know, you get off, and it's sort of, there's a relatively short hallway. It seems there's not much to this floor aside from, the sort of lab area. You step through a door, and he's sitting down at a desk, sort of writing things. There's a lot of, looking around, there's a lot of different implements, so it's a decently large room, with a space, an empty space, relatively large empty space to one area. Aside from that, there's a number of different tables, machines for doing all sorts of experiments from you imagine various fields of science, and it's not super, like, pristine. There's a lot of stuff just sort of laying around, and his desk in particular looks very messy with papers sort of strewn about.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, Mr. Cheshire is here, to see you. Oh, hello, Mr. Cheshire. I suppose it hasn't been that long since the airship.
Not particularly yet, at least. Good to see that. I assume you managed to find one of the escape pods and survived. I wasn't honestly sure who all would or would not.
Yes, well... I have my own, ways of escaping from that airship, but regardless, I first and foremost want to apologize. I never got around to giving you the information I so arrogantly promised you before everything turned upside down.
Well, considering we managed to figure out which one was, in fact, directly linked to Mercadia, it's fine. The information was still obtained at the end of the day.
Yes, well, obviously I wasn't particularly able to take up to, follow through on my end of the deal, so if you simply wish to end things, that's perfectly fine. If not, I'm sure I can offer some other type of compensation, perhaps information about something else. Perhaps something else involving work for my lab.
We can discuss that afterward. I'm just, in general, just interested into the nature of the experiment itself. If after it resolves, we can figure that out.
That's fair enough. In that case, if you'll give me a moment, he gets up from his desk, walks up to one of the walls where it looks like there's some kind of safe, enters in a combination and opens it, and there is an interesting looking fruit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of, it basically, appearance-wise, almost looks like, I would most compare it to a durian, but it is seemingly a little like softer and squishier. The bumps are more rounded, and it's a weird reddish purple color.
I see.
And he takes it out of this safe that you can tell as he opens it, it's been kept cold to preserve the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fruit in question. I am more willing to talk about it now that we don't have cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, first question, Cheshire, have you heard of, it goes by a few different names, the World Tree, the Tree of Life, Yggdrasil, etc., etc.
At least in regards to myth, yes.
Right. Well, I can't speak to the validity of any myths or connections there too, but this fruit is something I acquired that, as I am led to understand, comes directly from some equivalent to the World Tree.
I see.
Supposedly, according to the sources I have, it is supposed to grant some kind of boon, some kind of power to those that eat it. Naturally, did some research of my own, and even I used to have 2 of them, you see, and I tested one on myself by eating it, and nothing came of it. And so, I have a theory that it might have to do perhaps with the type of epithet, perhaps with the particular character of the person who eats it. I admit I'm not exactly on the side of justice. I'm just a doctor who gives people tales. And I more or less, anyone who's willing to agree to the terms I set, I'm willing to work with them. I don't look into people's backgrounds, so I guess you could consider it a more morally gray area, so to speak. But regardless, whatever it might be, I have the feeling that what didn't work for me might work for you or others of similar stature or character, etc.
Interesting. Well, considering this is the only other instance of the fruit that you have, it'd be best to, in case your theories are wrong, just to have insurance. Cheshire is going to just, like, place a bookmark of, this fruit is uneaten, so I'm just gonna, like, this is probably the only thing that I'm going to roll, but, you know, might as well roll it just in case.
Yeah. Roll it to see. Hi, Cheshire.
Hi, Cheshire. Alright, it's placed. That was just me crit fishing to see if I would get prof from this or not, but it's fine. It could just nebulously have succeeded.
I didn't think it would be a crit fail, but I had a feeling since it was Cheshire.
I saw the 19. Roll20 was like, no, you're trying to crit fish. Let me just knock that to the side real quick.
Yeah, you're trying to crit fish? Alright, here's a kind of crit. But yeah, no, you still place the bookmark fine.
Yeah.
As far as you can tell, it's working. One more thing really quick, because I have theories, assuming it works. I have theories as to a lot of different types of potential things the fruit could end up giving you, and to test for some of them before you eat it, if you don't mind, I would like to use my epithet to temporarily place a tail on you. Should make it easier to track changes in your body as a result of the fruit.
So what exactly does having a tail entail thereof, specifically, just so I understand?
Well, there are different circumstances. Normally those that come to my business, specifically for the tail business, when I create a tail for them, I put in the extra effort to make it permanent and detached from my epithet, so to speak, so it becomes a natural part of their being rather than something connected to me. In this case, with the much more temporary version, it will remain connected to my epithet for the sake of, once again, tracking changes in your body. It'll just be a temporary, essentially a tail coming out where you would expect a tail to for the next, thanks for a moment. I don't expect this to take long. It shouldn't last more than half an hour before it recedes and disappears. And there should be no traces left of it on you afterwards.
Alright, if that's the case, then that's fine with me. Just as a side note, Amber, considering he's explained it, we could talk about me potentially getting that, at least the capability of implanting tails thereof, later.
Yeah. And we can talk about the specifics later. I imagine, at the very least, with the explanation he's given, you'd be able to do temporary, but
yeah,
he has purposefully avoided the exact processes for making permanent tails.
Exactly.
But yeah, so he walks up to you and basically places a hand on your shoulder, focuses for a moment. There is a small glow, and a moment later you feel a small change as a monkey tail grows out from your backside, and it's just sort of there. You don't really feel like you have much control of it, or you know exactly what it's doing, and it doesn't quite feel natural right now. As he, once it's created, pulls away. I hope a monkey's fine. It's just what comes most naturally to me. His tails sort of wave behind him.
It's perfectly suitable.
Alright, in that case, he goes back over to his desk, grabs a clipboard with some paper on it and a, pen, and just, well, whenever you're ready.
Cheshire will just open up the Nolvera page, use it to construct a chair out of, basically rearrange air molecules into a solid shape to make a chair, and then once the chair is nice and set, he'll just sit down on it, close the book, and then take the fruit.
Yeah.
And, alright, is this specifically like an outer shell, or do I peel it and then eat it, or just take a bite out of it directly?
You should just be able to take a bite out of it directly, like an apple.
Alright, I just wasn't sure if this was like an orange or something of a similar note. Alright, yeah, he'll take a tentative bite.
You take a bite, a small bite of it, and, nothing seems to happen for the moment. Just generally, everything seems normal around you for now.
Swallows. Doesn't seem different, at least.
He is simply writing down notes on his clipboard. You sit there for a moment, and everything seems fine. Everything seems... It doesn't seem like a change. A moment passes. 2 moments. 3 moments. And when you take a second to sort of look up and look around at your surroundings anymore, again, you notice you're not sure exactly at what point it happened, but everything around you is blackness right now. And within that blackness, you see a few images. Sort of more like, not like pure images, but more like, like vision sort of things. 3 in particular. You see one that appears to be almost like a tree growing and becoming stout and tall and tough. Its bark hardening and solidifying, seeming to weather whatever comes at it. You see a second image of roots and vines growing up from the ground, entangling and lashing out to everything around it. And you see the third, which appears to be a small light flittering about, sending out waves of energy here and there. There seems to be within the light a small sort of form. And you see these images next to each other. They are there for a few moments. And above them, you see text appears. And it's strange. It's almost like someone is speaking into your mind, but you don't hear a voice. You just sort of see text that just says, choose one.
Huh. Okay. So, the growing tree with durable bark, the growing roots and lashing vines, or the figure in light are the choices?
Yeah.
Alright. Oh, that's a choice, alright. That's interesting. Cheshire's going to look at and then kind of try and impress the thought upon, just because he doesn't know if this is a situation in which he can literally talk to it or do what have you. But he's going to go with the one enveloped in light.
Alright, so you focus your thoughts towards the figure enveloped in light flitting around, and a moment passes, and you see the text again that says, very well, so that is your choice. I have deemed you worthy of gaining power. And the other images sort of fade away as that one becomes more prevalent, both in front of you and in your mind. It plays for a bit. After a few moments, you're compelled to close your eyes for a moment, and once you do and open them again, the world around you seems like normal. You're back in the laboratory, everything is normal, Jonathan is still taking notes, and it almost seems like no time has passed.
Alright, I don't know exactly what happened, but Yggdrasil, or whatever it is from thereof, seemed to have accepted me and offered me a choice between 3 boons.
Choice. Alright. For the sake of research and understanding, do you remember what these choices are?
I was given visions of 3 distinct possibilities. One was a tree which was growing with bark which withstood the tests of times. The second was vines and roots growing and lashing out. And the third was a figure enveloped in a bright light. I was told, but specifically through text, as though it was being told to me, but I could not hear it. I had merely read the words upon it to make my choice, and I've chosen the figure enveloped in light.
Alright. He writes down a few more notes and then puts his clipboard down. Well, clearly there was some small type of change. Through my epithet, I noticed something, but I can't quite pinpoint it. Now, pulls up another clipboard and starts going down a list. Well, I suppose if I remember correctly, you of course have your epithet and also, I believe, an alias? If I'm correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Alright, well, I suppose you, aside from the vision, generally you feel of sound mind and body, nothing particularly strange about any of it?
Not that I can tell, at least.
Alright. At the very least, I believe that rules out any possibility of a new epithet or alias. Research has shown, through both example and study, that individuals are not generally meant to have more than one epithet or an alias. It tends to eat away at their body and their mind. Most of them are driven mad to some regard. With more than one, and if you're fine, I highly doubt that it was either of those. Crosses a few things off the list. It couldn't be that either. The next test, I suppose. He walks over to a bookshelf embedded in one of the walls. Fingers through, looking for, it seems, a particular book. Finds a particularly large and leather-bound, almost like tome, with a couple belts around it, and pulls it out. Flips open a few pages, and brings it over to you. Alright, the next test, I suppose. Are you able to read anything in this book?
He'll take the book and go back to the beginning and flip through it as quickly as possible to, he has a speed reader thing.
Yeah. He has the speed reader. You speed read through all of it, and you can immediately tell everything is complete gibberish.
Not a word.
Alright, that rules out magic then. He takes the book back and puts it back on his shelf. I suppose given the image, I highly doubt it, but I suppose if you can attempt to flex your mind, so to speak, see if it's some kind of psychic power.
It's a bit weird considering I slightly have some experience figuring out, considering the glitchling, but I can at least attempt. just focuses in and just basically just like tries to just focus on the thoughts that he usually is like basically the thoughts and feelings that he usually is going through when he's using Nilvira's telekinesis to see if there's like any reaction.
Yeah. You attempt to go through it and create some kind of reaction. You don't manage to do anything of that sort. You don't really manage to bring up any sort of like latent psychic power. However, as you're attempting to do that, your mind sort of naturally wanders to the image again briefly.
He'll focus on the image again in that case.
You focus on the image again, and still nothing happens for now, but you feel at least like you're getting a little bit closer to figuring out how to manifest the power.
I don't believe it's something psionic, but I'm focusing on my choice thereof of the figure in light. I don't know how yet, but I think I'm getting, at least to an extent, closer.
I see. Alright. That rules out any psionic abilities then. If it's magic, then it couldn't be other types of arcane or otherwise. He sort of is mumbling to himself a bit, crossing options off of his list and sort of going through it. And eventually he stops, kind of suddenly, and is sort of just looking at one thing in particular. Unlikely, but might as well test everything, because I don't think it's impossible. So this is something to be honest, I doubt you've heard of, because most people haven't. But it is a relatively new concept that has been researched in certain circles recently. A new type of power adjacent to epithets and aliases and the like, called, at least for now, it's being referred to as a flare. Basically, it's been found that there are certain individuals that possess specific genetic information that allow them to manifest specific, unique powers if put under very specific conditions, and that is generally for manifesting it in the first place, and once it is discovered and understood, it is specifically a power that is essentially brought out through pain, so to speak. You take the pain you feel and you channel that into energy in order to manifest the power. Like I said, it's very, very new research, not well understood, and as far as I was aware, it normally requires some honestly very unethical practices in order to bring one out. So the fact, why I think it's unlikely, but regardless, it's worth testing.
Alright, do you have a scalpel or anything of a note that I could borrow if that's the case?
I do. One moment. He reaches into one of his lab coats and produces a scalpel and hands it over.
Yep, takes it. I'm not going to enjoy this. Just extends his palm out into the air, facing upwards. Takes the scalpel in the other hand and just stabs his own hand.
You stab your own hand, and of course you take the usual like stamina damage. It hurts. Naturally, there's pain. Blood flows from the wound like normal. However, it's strange. There is a sort of from the pain, there also feels like a small amount of energy sort of welling up inside of you a little bit.
I don't know if it's just the fact that it might... that you mentioned it, that it is it, or that it might be just something that... Oh boy, maybe just freak coincidence. I might have be developing one regardless, but it seems that's doing something at least. Just grits his teeth and then just... Oh, this is really going to suck. And then just twists the scalpel in further.
You twist the scalpel in further. Obviously, take more damage, feel more and more energy welling up inside of you, and, yeah.
He's going
feel like you have at least a decent pool, like, built up now.
Yeah, he's going to focus on the image of the light in his mind again, and then just violently rip the scalpel out of his hand.
Yeah. You rip it out, a little bit more pain, a little bit more energy, and as you focus on the image seems to, appear in your mind, take it over for a moment, almost seems to dance back and forth within your mind, and you feel the energy that you had been building up from the pain you were feeling almost drains away a little bit as you are focusing on that image, and as you focus less on the image and more on the world around you, you find that you have created a sort of, there's this, more or less the image that was in your mind. There is a sort of being breathed in light, flitting around you and around your head right now, basically.
Alright, can you see that? Or is it something that only I can see?
Yes, I can see it. Alright, well, this is quite the development. I think it is relatively safe to say that you have developed a flare, and if this is the same as the image you spoke of that you saw, is likely because of the fruit as well. As the figure sort of flits around you a bit, and as it's more real and you're able to focus on it a little bit more, looking closer, it appears to be a small pixie-like creature. It waves at you.
Cheshire will just kind of like, he just kind of closes his palm with the blood. He's like, I'm gonna have to probably get Anderson to fucking clean that up later. That's annoying. And then he just kind of like does a small wave to it. And then he'll in the background open up his mellow page, and then just try to do a psychic telepathic hello to the pixie. You give the pixie, your little telepathic hello, and it seems like even telepathically it doesn't like speak traditionally through words, but almost seems to impart some level of like emotion, feelings, and sort of general understanding on you of gratitude and excitement to some degree. It understanding, now that you've properly noticed it, it sort of flits down to where your hand is, and focuses for a moment as your hand is briefly also wreathed in its light, and well, it doesn't feel like you've really healed it all. At the very least, the wound is closed. Well, that's rather handy, at least. Just kind of studies the hand back and forth.
Yeah.
As a note, Dr. Kalaya, I don't seem to have, like, direct control of this. It seems to be operating on its own volition.
That is interesting. To be honest, I don't think of the few little bit of information I've heard about flares, I don't think I've ever heard of a type that has its own will or sentience, so this is exceptionally interesting. Perhaps if you tried to give it some kind of command through your own will or otherwise?
Alright. He'll he'll telepathic to the pixie. Basically just like, he basically saying, try to construct a word out of light. And he just thinks, light. And then just to see what it would do, if anything.
Yeah, you focus your will on that, and it seems to take a moment to just sort of like float in space for a second before it goes up and quite literally uses its light to sort of create a sort of brief fading image in the air of the word light.
Interesting. Do you have a name, or something I should call you?
It stops for a moment and seems to seriously consider that. And then just you feel a general like wave of energy and feeling from it that's just basically amounts to no.
If I don't know what to call you, I can't really categorize you, which is...
Suppose you can always think of a name for it later, if you...
Okay. Are you me, or are you something else? To confirm.
It takes a moment again, and for lack of it takes a moment. It tries to figure out. You feel a sort of weird, almost roulette of like it trying to find a sort of feeling it can convey to answer, and then it almost seems to just give up and just create in the air the word both with a question mark at the end.
I see. Cheshire's going to basically create the image of what, like, he assumed, like, basically the mythological image of Yggdrasil that he is, as he understands it, and try to convey it to that, to the pixie, and saying, are you from here?
You convey that, and instant wave of, like, positive, feelings and energies coming from it.
Alright. I can at least confirm that, at least from how it understands itself, that was most likely, yes, definitely a fruit from the tree of Yggdrasil. I
see. Jonathan goes to write a few more things down, and at this point, you feel there's been a very slight feeling of sort of the energy you had built up draining away, and as it more or less seems to tap out, the sort of pixie creature fades away and disappears.
Well, that's something I'm going to have to some time to studying and developing as well. Interesting, at least to say.
Interesting indeed. He puts his clipboard down. Well, I suppose with that, for now at least, that more or less clears up the experiment details. If you wouldn't mind stopping by every once in a while to examine any sort of progress with this, I'm very interested in There's very few opportunities to study flares, especially since generally it requires very unethical practices to bring them out in individuals, assuming they even have one, which we don't have a way to examine right now what genetic information it is that makes a flare possible. So any tests to bring one out could just end up in failure, and then ethics get even more involved, and
I have some samples of, just for the sake of if it should ever matter, I have had samples of my DNA, such as hair and so on, saved before, in case you would like to get that and check me at current to see what sort of changes, if anything, can be noted. But at the very least, I'll at least send you a report, either weekly or bi-weekly, on my own notes and progress I've made on seeing what has happened. And I will, at least, when I can find the time to do so, I will stop by to discuss it, yes?
Yes, that would be very, very appreciated. And naturally this takes care of your end of the deal, so if you want to discuss now or at some point in the future on my end, I haven't forgotten that I owe you a debt for the experience of this experiment and future reports on information about the flare and everything.
Considering it is a weird situation in that the favor will be compounding in on itself, I'll think on it and tell you later.
Of course. I believe that should be everything then, so I imagine you're a busy man. You're free to go on your way.
Yes, checks watch. Alright, barely on time. That's good at least. Nods, opens up the Nolvira page, dissolves the air chair, and then teleports.
Yeah. I think we can end it off there.
To confirm, Amber, should I roll a base value of skill with this flare, or is it just something I should note that I have on my sheet?
I'd say just note that you have it for now. I need to work out a couple of specifics with it and write up a thing for you.
Yep.
I was partially waiting to see which of the three you would choose before I wrote anything up.
Yeah. Makes sense. And speaking of just makes sense, if you would like to know when Cheshire adds a fourth potential type of category for marking proficiency of something, I guess, on his sheet, make sure to join Fine Dining, our Discord server. Oh, there it is. Alright. With that, we can say goodbye to chat.
Yeah, goodbye to